Welcome to the Jedi Ranger. I'm John Berry 555, and it's time to talk about Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord. Now, I will be talking spoilers in this review, so if you don't want to have any spoilers, I did release 2 YouTube shorts where I avoided spoilers to the best of my abilities, but here we are getting spoilers. So, as I said, first 2 chapters, that's because they both aired on the same day, and well, I feel like to talk about one, I need to properly talk about the other, especially when I'm talking about them in context of each other. So, we're going to talk about Chapter 1, The Dark Revenge, and Chapter 2, Sinister Schemes. So, most of the stuff in Chapter 1 is introducing us to our characters. I stated that in my spoiler-free reviews, and I'm stating it again because that is essentially what it is. We learn about what is going on and who our characters are, but now I can talk about them a little bit more. So, of course, Maul. We already know who Maul is. In fact, his introduction in the show, it actually reuses Duel of the Fates. While there is different thematic implications of that in Episode 1, it's also heavily associated with Maul, so it makes sense. But also there seems to be another theme that they're using, another leitmotif to associate with Maul as well. And I will say, with that association, it's also associated with the title, and I'm convinced this is the longest title we've gotten for a Star Wars show since Star Wars Droids and Star Wars Ewoks in the 80s, I believe. Not an actual title sequence, but I think we have an extra second, and that's impressive for a Star Wars show. I really wish they did some more title sequences, like good old fashioned. Anyhow, like I said, we are reintroduced to Maul and where he currently is in the galaxy. He has a few Mandalorians with him. He also has a few Night Brothers, and they're basically being gangsters. I mean, Maul is trying to get revenge on the members of the Shadow Collective that turned against him after his fall from grace, after Palpatine, dueled him and defeated him on Mandalore, and then he was eventually broken out. There's a lot of stuff going on, but essentially reintroducing him and what his goals are. And his goals can be summarized as revenge and seeking an apprentice. And that's what comes in the Twi'lek Jedi, Devon, Izara, who we are revealed in Chapter 1 that Maul has sensed that he is soon going to find someone who he can shape and mold as an apprentice. And so when he breaks into the police headquarters to get one of the crime bosses that he wants revenge on, he also breaks her out. She tries to escape, and she's also the first character, besides the crime bosses that Maul is seeking revenge on, because he is seeking revenge and setting them to fight each other to do the dirty work for him. She is the first person to identify him as Maul, because she's a Jedi. She knows who he is. And that's actually at the end of Chapter 1 when that happens. And Chapter 2 picks up where that leaves off. Police chase and all that, and Devon's master, who I don't know if his name has been revealed yet. Let me double check. Yeah, Jedi Master Iko Diodaki. So he actually reveals himself briefly, trying to rescue Devon from Maul, but he stops that because Maul uses the force to damage the bridge, so he uses it to hold the bridge. And during this time, also, the police who are after Maul because of the crimes he are doing go and rescue the people. And both of them are willing to let Maul, the criminals, go in order to save the innocent bystanders. Which I think is really important to establish that our police character, Brando Lawson, is ultimately going to be a good guy. Now, he's going to be a hero antagonist because Maul, I believe, is going to be our villain protagonist. But it's important, I think, to establish that he's protecting the innocent first and foremost, which I think is really important for us to establish who he is. He's also, basically, his droid partner, Two Boots, which I think might be my favorite character so far, as that, Maul's droid, who is this gremlin demon type thing in terms of behavior, and Maul at one point pets like a pet. The 2 droids seem to be my favorite characters because they have some of the best types of humor. Maul's is kind of like that, has the dark humor, while Two Boots is just the good fun humor. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. But because the police department is local, not officially part of the Empire, Lawson is trying to keep this case from being taken over by the Empire. And, well, when the database comes back, Maul, classified, immediately informed the Empire, he's like, I'm not going to do that. And that's the first instant, but seeing him basically prioritize saving innocent bystanders further reinforces that he's ultimately probably going to be a good guy. And another thing, too, is that him and Devon's Jedi Master, I think, might eventually start cooperating, because that seems to be setting up. And I think also Devon's Jedi Master is trying to determine if Lawson can be trusted, which is a valid thing. They're former Jedi on the run. They need to know if they can trust him or not. But I think ultimately, I think he will be trustworthy from everything that we've seen so far and how he's set up. We're also introduced to his son, revealed that him and his wife have a strained relationship in some form. Whether they're still together, separated, or divorced, we don't know at this time, but they're at least not living together, because Lawson's son talks about going to see his mother, so we know something's going on there behind the scenes. But ultimately, though, everything that's setting up is going to be the conflict of the episode. Yes, Maul is going for revenge against everyone who betrayed him, against some person named Krim, who seems to have taken over Crimson Dawn at this point in the timeline. Seems like Maul is going for revenge. But I think the true conflict is going to end up being between basically Maul, him influencing Devon, and also Brando Lawson and Two Boots on the other side, potentially with Devon's Jedi Master. All depends exactly how this all develops, but I think it's going to develop really interestingly. In fact, Chapter 2 has a scene where you can see Devon's Jedi Master following Lawson, likely trying to figure out, can he trust him or not? And I think ultimately, yes, I've already stated that. But another thing too, to kind of note, I think Lawson realizes Maul, he doesn't know who or what Maul is, but he knows a Jedi is involved somewhere, and he's old enough to know what the Jedi were potentially pre-Clone Wars. He's probably heard the stories. And he saw Devon's Jedi Master hold the bridge up. Yes, he disappeared afterwards, and then again when he was following, but he saw that, so he knows that whoever this character is, there's a Jedi involved. He knows that. And I think that is now further motivating him not to go to the Empire, because he knows that things will really spiral out of control. Which could provide some interesting contrast actually to Star Wars Andor, where again, the local police with who Cyril had worked for before joining the Bureau of Standards and before they were taken over by the Empire, wanted to avoid the Empire's attention for the same reason. Same goal, but different reasons. Lawson basically doesn't want the Empire getting in the way of actually policing, doing local law enforcement, dealing with local matters from the local perspective. Meanwhile, in Andor, the corporate security just wanted to do their own thing, have a cushy job, and not worry about anything. Totally different motivations, but same goal. That's probably not going to be a major plot line through the show from what I can pick up so far, but I think it's definitely something that we could see develop and could help inform our characters. Like I said, everything I've liked so far is really good. The animation is really good. The musical cues are really nicely done. Like, again, there's a lot of good stuff going on. And I think there's going to be some very nice drama. So maybe I've never actually watched The Sopranos, but maybe something from there, or even The Godfather, because they do deal with organized crime and what all the thing kids in Star Wars, but organized crime. And another thing I do want to know, at the end of Chapter 2, Devon uses the Force to escape the prison that Maul put her in. He's trying to influence her to embrace the dark side. I can tell that. You can tell that. He's using some of the same terminology, some of the same pushes that he used with Ezra, just phrasing things different. Remember, this is before he met Ezra. But his goal is the same. Find someone he can mold to be a weapon to serve his own aims. Devon rightly picks up that Maul is lying to her, that he is saying things to appease her that are not necessarily true. But at the same time, you can tell she is actually considering that stuff. It's like, does he have a point? Maul, I think Devon's going to start viewing as a pragmatic, maybe still not a great guy, but someone who is making pragmatic choices in a galaxy turned on its head. And I think that's going to lead to some very interesting character moments, some very interesting plot lines, some just really interesting stuff, and I just can't wait to see how that all develops. But of course, there is going to be more. There is going to be more to develop, more to talk about. And in all honesty, to get into any more, we're going to have to just wait for the next chapter, which is going to be Chapter 3, Whispers in the Unknown, on April 13th. And according to Wikipedia, at least, Chapter 4, Pride and Vengeance, when it says to play Pride and Prejudice, is also going to be airing on the 13th. So next week, I'm also going to be talking about 2 episodes. Can we go back to 1 episode per week in 22 episode seasons, please? I would really kind of like that. That doesn't mean I'm not liking what we're getting from the story, but I kind of like those longer seasons where you could have an episode or 2 that is not directly related to the ongoing plot, a quick breather. Don't think we're necessarily going to get that, but what we are getting so far has been interesting, and I can't wait to see where that all develops. But you can let me know your thoughts on the first 2 chapters of Maul Shadowlord in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching my video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give this video a like and share. Also, consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date on all my latest content. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the Force be with you, always.